my first question to you is, I think you've got a very unique perspective on the fight because you're from the Kronk gym, Fury's from the Kronk gym,
Well, he's
and
not, but anyway.
but I suppose but yeah, not literally from the Kronk
Yeah,
gym, but
yeah,
he's worked with quite a few of the coaches, Manuel
yeah.
Stewart, now Sugar Hill, so he's got that sort of I don't want to say style, but the sort of
Influence.
methodology behind, yeah, the influence. And yourself as well, you also had a Eastern European
Yep.
style influence in your way, which of course similar to Usyk. So I think you got a unique perspective on this sort of clash of styles. Um, so my first question for you was, because of Fury's Kronk influence, how did you see him making adjustments to counter Usyk's style of fighting?
So I think he had a couple. You know, Lennox Lewis did a really good job talking about the fight prior to it even happening, and he broke it down for everybody. And this is how I look at fights: is um, whether I watch them live or I don't watch them live. The first 4 rounds in a championship fight are basically nothing's really happening in most championship fights. It's I'm feeling you out. You may win 1 round. I may win 1 round. It's just a feeling out. And it's probably at the end of the 4th round, beginning of the 5th round, middle of the 5th round. That's when, the pace picks up. And that's what I've seen with Fury. He started using those body shots, and that was what I thought he was going to continue to do. He landed a couple good uppercuts against Usyk, and I thought that was going to stop him, because that was one of the things when we were coming up, is that's how you would stop somebody with, that was coming forward at you. They were smaller. That's how I was taught, is, throw a looping uppercut, because you throw a straight punch, they're going to go this way, or they're going to go that way, or they're going to pull back. But if they're coming in and you can catch them with a long uppercut, which Fury was doing, it's going to be a really good shot, because it picks them up, and then you can catch them with another shot. But I didn't see Fury following that up. He would land one punch, and then Usyk would continue to go forward, or he'd pause for a second, and so I think it could be, you could look at it from two perspectives. It's he got caught, or he was expecting to get caught with that uppercut, and then instead of going in knowing that he'd get caught with a second or third shot, he stayed out, and then he came in. And I think that's what might have thrown off the timing. Or the other thing is he got caught, and he's like, I don't want to get caught again, so I'm just going to stay on the outside, and if he tries to throw his jab or paw me with his jab, then I'll move in. And if you noticed, a few times Fury would use the jab, but it wasn't clean. Like, it wasn't a clean, snapping jab. And typically, when you watch Fury throw his jab, sometimes it has a lot of pop to it, and sometimes it doesn't. I felt that this fight, he mostly was just putting it out there just to keep Usyk off of him, as opposed to using it effectively to set something up. Because when he put it out there, he would put it out there, and then that was it. And I think that's either maybe that was part of the game plan, or maybe that was just him not knowing what to do, because the guy just kept coming forward to him. So and
The
being
uppercut you
evasive.
mentioned.
What was that?
So the uppercut you mentioned,
Yeah.
is that specific to someone putting pressure on you, or is that as a counter to a southpaw?
Both. Because I'm a
Both.
southpaw. So, that was one of the things that my dad, instilled with me. He's like, if you can't land a straight left hand, or you can't run, or if you can't stop them with your left hand, he's like, let them come in and then catch them with an uppercut. So that's, what we would do. And, and that's when I seen him doing that, I'm like, okay, so this is going to play out well, because what he's going to do is he's going to catch him with the uppercut, and then he's either going to catch him with the left hook, or he's going to catch him with a jab, or he's going to come with the uppercut and then come back with a straight right. But he didn't do that. And that's what I think made the difference, is a guy is aggressive and a guy that can move as much as Usyk can, within inches. It's a game of inches in boxing. If he's moving with his feet like he does, you have to throw more than one or two shots. That's not gonna stop him. One shot will stop him, But he's just going to be like, okay, if you're just throwing one shot, I'm going to take the one shot, I'm going to deflect the one shot, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to smother you or I'm going to land something. And that's kind of what he was doing. I think in the first part of the fight, although they were both landing shots, I think Usyk landed whatever he landed of his shots were much cleaner shots than what Tyson Fury was landing. That's just that's my observation from watching it, because there were cleaner shots that you would see pop the head back, or at least land clear on the head.
Okay, so what about Fury's size then? He's a lot taller. He was about 30 pounds heavier. What were did you notice any sort of techniques specifically employed by Usyk to get around that reach advantage?
So I thought what he did is what I've seen Fury has done in the past. He did this with Deontay Wilder. Is he would lay on top of him, and if you notice that he would lay on top of him, or he would put his weight on him, or he'd throw a jab, and that's what I think he was doing with that jab. Is he was trying to throw the jab to get Usyk to come in, and then he would lay on top of him or put his arm on top of him, and then use his weight to his advantage and push him back. But if you notice, what Usyk would do is he would either slip under the jab or slip over to the right, and then he'd come on the outside of either the left or the right. And so when you've noticed in a couple times that happened, when Fury tried to use his weight to lay on top of him, he would go under, or he would just slightly pivot out of the way. So where, if he's in this plane, he's going to move right here, and now you can't put your weight on him because your hips ain't aligned with his hips, and then he's this way. So he has the advantage. And it's a great tactic. But the one thing that I didn't understand is when he moved to that side, typically from a Eastern European, school book of boxing is, if you move to the outside, you're going to have to tap them with something. And Usyk, at first, he wasn't doing that. He would take the advantage point and he wouldn't come over. And I don't know if that's because Fury was trying to lay his head down and he didn't want to catch him in the back of the head, because he did get caught. Usyk got caught in the back of the head, I think, in the 5th round a couple times.
Won Fury, yeah.
Yeah, so he got caught a couple times, and then he finally said something to the ref, and then the ref said something. So
in between rounds, yeah.
Yeah, in between rounds, yeah. So I mean, that's what I thought was going to start happening, is he was going to start to angle off to keep Fury's weight off of him.
Okay, so I know the Kronk style. It's known for its aggressive style as well. And I put a post up on Instagram earlier about the corner chaos.
Oh,
so I mean, how would that affected Fury when he's got his father talking on one side, almost over talking the main man, Sugar Hill, because we saw Fury, he hurt Usyk, clearly hurt Usyk in the middle rounds.
He did.
Then he sort of took his foot off the gas, whereas you would expect the more aggressive Kronk sort of style would have taken advantage of that and pressed forward, but he seemed to almost be posturing quite a bit and not really following up with his feints with punches.
Yeah,
and how do you think that affected him?
I think so. There's John Scully. He talks about it. He made a post about it a couple weeks ago.
The Iceman.
The Iceman. He made a post about it. He's like, you got to understand, as a father, you're not the center of your kid's career. You're just somebody that's there to either help them. And he uses, Fury's dad as an example. He uses Haney's dad as an example. You guys are trying to be, front and center. No. It's about your kids. And I think what transpired at one of the press conferences when he headbutted a guy or something like that. Come on now. That's uncalled for. So I don't know if you're trying to intimidate somebody or something like that, but I think that shows what I say. I think the game plan that they had going in there was one thing, and then once they got into the ring, they didn't adjust really well. That's just that's how I look at it, is they didn't adjust as well as they could have. Because with Fury, he's such a big, tall guy, and he can move so well. I was very astonished that he kept his back towards the rope majority of the time. Even when he tried to a couple times bait him in, and try and do rope-a-dope or whatever it is. I think it was like in the 4th or 5th round he tried to do that, and Usyk like came in, came out, and then he came in and he caught him like with a jab, I believe it is, and so then he moved out, and it's like he didn't want to I don't think he was able to bait him like he would have baited somebody else, and that comes from mental strength and like I'm sticking to my game plan when I'm in the ring. And I think they did a good job with the game plan in Usyk's corner. And I don't think that whatever dynamic they have in the corner, it is what it is. Fury either didn't step on the gas after the 5th or 6th round, or he thought that he was comfortable and then he didn't have to go as hard as he had to go. And I think he was probably saving it for, the later rounds.
So, I mean, Tyson Fury is obviously a smart fighter. Is this more a case of him misjudging the fight or the corner? Because as a world champion, and he's also one of the smartest fighters, he should get a feel of what's going on. I need to put my foot down. I need to take the fight to him, not always just rely on what the corner tell him.
So it's like the philosophy I believe is like my dad would tell me, he's like, I would just scream at you if you made a mistake in the ring. But he says, everything we've done, he's like, you already know what to do in the ring. And you should have that in your head. You know what to do if he does this. If you don't know and you come back, I'm going to tell you what to do. And when you look at good quartermen or a good dynamic in coaching, that's exactly what they do. The fighter knows everything he needs to do. They just can't see everything from the outside of the ring. And so when they come into the corner, the job of the corner is to tell you, hey, he's doing this. You're maybe not seeing this, but let's go back to, let's adjust our game plan. And instead of, keeping our distance, let's close the distance on him a little bit. And I think maybe they told him that. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. You have two guys shouting at him, and he doesn't know who to listen to. But he should have known by that point in time, hey, this isn't working. What can I do?
So you mentioned him.
Go ahead.
Sorry, carry on.
So it's, you can't blame the coach for everything, because once you get in that ring, you've already had all the programming, all the training, and everything in your head that will give you what you need to win. The coach is just there to assist you and tell you to, course correct if you're going off plan or if something's not working.
So you were discussing before we went on air about Fury having his back to the ropes a lot of the time. Do you think Usyk's the pressure exerts, both mental and always coming forwards, do you think that had an effect on the way Fury was fighting those middle rounds? And you mentioned that he may have almost, well, not given up, but took him by surprise, and he was beginning to get exhausted mentally as well.
Yeah, I don't think he expected a smaller guy to pressure him as much as Usyk pressured him. And it's not just like, so there's pressuring where I'm just going into you and I'm just trying to like put my head down and just close the gap on you. Usyk was very evasive when he was coming in. Yes, he got caught a handful of times or whatever it is, but he was trying to be effective with straight shots to pop his head back, because his coach or his coaching staff and his team knows 100% that Fury is susceptible if he gets caught. And that showed in the 9th round. I think he caught him in maybe the 7th or 8th round. But I can't remember what round, but I know that he caught him with a clean shot, and Fury caught Usyk with a couple clean shots as well that kind of stumbled him or moved him back. But I think him catching Usyk with those shots and then him still coming forward, I mean, that says a lot, because it's like you're 40 pounds heavier than this guy and you're wailing at him as hard as you can and he's still coming forward. So that makes a big difference.
The last time we spoke, when we discussed your career, you mentioned you're a tall southpaw. You mentioned a lot of guys would try to put pressure on you and you would step back and check hook.
Yeah.
So with Fury being the bigger guy, and him being a Kronk aggressive style as well, when do you think he should have really gone more ultra aggressive and taken the fight to Usyk? Was there a pivotal moment where he sort of missed the trick there, missed
I
the
think
clock?
what he did. I think what he did in the 6th round. If he would have continued to do that, I think we would have had a different outcome to the fight. But I don't know. Maybe he got exhausted, or maybe mentally he broke down. I'm not sure. What goes on in the fighter's head. None of us do, and even the fighter's not going to tell you what happened. So, I think in my perspective, he should have stayed off the ropes. Like after the 6th round, he was being successful. He should have came off the ropes. He should have controlled the center of the ring, and he just was not able to do that.
So what about Fury's jab? How do you think Fury could have better utilised his jab against Usyk's southpaw stance? Of course, again, you've been a southpaw, and we also see a dynamic where Fury is more low lead and Usyk is more higher, more the higher guard. I mean, would you call Usyk high guard? And I'm not sure.
I would call him
closer to the high guard.
High guard, whatever, because sometimes he'll keep his hands up, sometimes he'll put them out, and then sometimes he'll go up like this, sometimes he'll go, he doesn't go peekaboo, but he'll keep one hand up, he'll put this one out. So it shifts, and that's why I kind of say, like, there's no, it's a reference range. There you go. You're high guard. Okay, so your hands are here, 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 here. All right, Fury is more low guard with the lead hand, and with his reach, he can do it with he can do it against a softball, but I don't think he used his lead hand enough to keep Usyk at bay. That's why I'm like, after the 6th round, I'm thinking to myself, this fight's gonna play out like this for the rest of the rounds. And then when my buddy texts me, he's like, "Did you see what just happened in the 9th round?" And I didn't know what happened. And I'm like, wow. What happened after the 6th round? So, yeah, because that's why I stopped watching. I'm like, oh, it's going to be 6 rounds. He's not going to let off the gas. He's going to keep going like this. He's going to go to cruise control. He's going to continue what he did in the 6th round, but he didn't. So.
Yeah, with Usyk's his movement is constant. Movement is constant, not just with his feet, but with his hands. Like you mentioned, his changing guard.
Yeah,
you would have thought Fury would have used his lead hand, his jab, a little bit more. I mean, he was still fainting, but he just wasn't following through. So maybe it goes back to what you're saying about the pressure, and then Fury becoming mentally tired. Because
and physically too.
He's always dead.
Mean,
yeah, that tires you out physically
too. Yeah, physically. You got somebody coming at you. I mean, Fury's not a high output. He's not a high output puncher. He's just not. Like, he doesn't throw a lot of shots, and with that extra, even though he lost weight, I still think he was in there with he was in there with a boxer that was on the same level as him when it comes to skills, tactics, and methodologies. He was in there with a guy that is extremely well versed in boxing, like, as opposed to, say, Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is not on the same level as Tyson Fury when it comes to boxing, IQ. Anybody he's been in there hasn't been on that same IQ level with Fury. And I think him being in there now with somebody that is on the same or maybe a little bit above, that made a huge difference.
Yeah, and it's also what we mentioned earlier as well, again off air, about the bigger heavyweights nowadays. They're just not going to have the punch output as compared to Usyk.
Yeah,
a little bit smaller, and we'll have more volume.
And then and to constantly go forward for 12 rounds like he did with the punch output. Like, I mean, he's not throwing the punch output of a strawweight or a flyweight, but compared to other heavyweights, he's putting on a lot more punches and a lot more activity than anybody else is there right now.
Yeah. And so, as you mentioned, both fighters, Tyson Fury just mentioned how no one's been on his level until he's came across Usyk for his Ving IQ side of things as well. What was there, like, can you appeal to a moment or identify a moment in the fight where the fighters Ring IQ, the intelligence stood out the most. I mean, we mentioned like at the halfway point, you'd think Fury was winning, but Usyk made the adjustments and came out on top. So, was there a moment where you sort of noticed where that Ring IQ really was shining there, really stood out? I mean, the uppercut was a good one as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, like, yeah. So that's a perfect example. Is and I think both fighters adjusted because Usyk was throwing body shots, and I think the second and third round he was going to Tyson's body, and then Tyson started throwing body shots in the fourth and fifth round, and I think the sixth round. But he was also throwing that uppercut where he caught Usyk. And he caught him a couple other times in later rounds where his head popped back with that uppercut. But the problem is that Usyk kept going forward, or he was the much more aggressive. But not only that, he was being smart about his aggression. If he moved forward, he moved in a way that he would be just out of range or just out of that punching, slightly off target, and then he would throw something. Whereas Tyson would land one punch, and that's kind of it. And I think that's one of the things is, at that size, maybe that's what it is. That's his style. He's not a high output puncher. And I think when he started throwing the uppercut, I'm like, okay, he's like I said earlier, I thought he was going to come back with the left hook, or I thought he was going to come back with a jab or something. But for him not to come back with anything, you just open the door. So it's like, okay, I'll take the one shot because it's not that powerful. And then I'm going to walk through it, and then I'm going to try and do what I want to do.
So what about, I know the bread man, Stephen Edwards, he's mentioned that Usyk has this clutch gene. He just seems to be able to turn it on when he needs to most. And that's exactly what he did on Saturday night. When he was rocked by Fury, he came back a couple of rounds later and put it on Fury and totally turned the fight around. So would you say the outcome was more Fury made a strategic mistake, took his foot off the gas, or would you say it was more Usyk's clutch gene, where it's just the guy gets into that zone? Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns one, for example.
There you go. Yeah.
You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah. So I thought from the beginning, before even watching the fight, I thought Fury was going to lose. That was just my theory. I thought that Usyk was going to be too evasive for him, too quick for him, and he was going to win, hands down. After the sixth round, I thought Fury was going to destroy him. I thought he was going to, like I said, put it in cruise control, do what was working, push him back against the ropes, but he didn't. And so I don't know if it's a combination of he was in there with somebody on his skill level and that guy, just outskilled him that day, or he lost the fight in his head. I'm not sure.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because when you've got someone like Usyk who can turn it on when he needs to most, what do you do? You can't. Nothing you do will work because he's just so determined.
Yeah, and so and that just takes a special kind of person. I mean, it's not everybody's like that.
Yeah, Ali would say the will has to be greater than the skill. That's exactly. I mean, Usyk is extremely skilled, but his will was a determining factor there.
Yeah, and I think and there's different levels to that as well. Like there are super high skilled guys, but they don't have super high will. But Usyk has both of them, so he can put the pressure on. He has the skill, and then he's going to do whatever it takes to win. And I mean, I think that's also like what you said. Like it's a mental game. I mean, boxing is a massive mental game. And he won the mental battle, and he won the physical battle that day. And the fight should not have went past the 9th round. So
So what do you make of that 9th round?
Should not have went past the 9th round. There is no way that fight should have went past the 9th round.
I mean, if the ropes, if a fighter falls,
I understand.
the ropes pick them up, it should be a count.
Okay. So So there are a lot of rules in boxing that are supposed to be enforced, not be enforced, supposed to be enforced. Why you would choose to enforce that on that stage at that level, it makes absolutely no sense to me. And the timing of the round, because by the time he finished giving him the count and then having a conversation about him, what he ate for lunch or whatever it was, and then he looked at him like, I'm like, what's going on? How long is this break? And it kind of takes you back a little bit to when he was knocked down by Wilder. People would say it was a really long count or whatever. So I don't think the count was long here.
Was that the first Wilder fight?
Yeah, the first Wilder fight. Yes. So I don't think the count was long here. I just think that everything that happened after the count was done was unnecessary. I mean, the count shouldn't have happened to begin with. He should have just let the fight play out like it was. And people would say, oh, the ropes saved him, whatever. No. He would have still went down if Usyk would have continued to go after him without the referee coming in. There was no way that Tyson Fury was getting up, because he would have caught him clean. He would have caught him clean, which he would have knocked him out on his feet, and then he would have caught him again, where he would have completely knocked him out. Because you've seen that happen where a guy gets caught by the ropes, the referee doesn't stop, to give him an 8 count or anything like that, and the guy takes 2-3 extra shots, in a regular fight, not even in a championship fight. And then, the fight's over. Why they didn't let that happen in this fight, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because he bounced around the ring a few times on the ropes, and then he should have been called the first time he sort of fell into the ropes, and the ropes sort of held him up. But he called it on the 4th or 5th time.
And
just before the bell went.
And I can't remember if it was David Hay that said it. He's like, if it was the other way around, the referee would have stopped the fight.
Yeah, the way he get a standing count right at the end, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? That had it been the other way around,
other way around, he would have stopped the fight because it's a smaller guy. He's gonna get injured, whatever. But it's the bigger guy, so I just don't. I would have just. I think you just need to let it play out. That's it, especially for what was on the table. Yeah. Because if he would have gotten up, then he would have gotten up. That's a whole different story. But now it's the referee saved you in the 9th round. And whatever happened after the 9th round, I honestly don't care, because the fight should not have went past the 9th round.
Yeah, I mean, a world champion will want to have the chance to go out on his shield, and of course Fury is known for getting up and fighting stronger or harder. I don't know whether that had any influence on the referee.
So one shot, he's able to get up. You know what I mean? He took 2 shots from Wilder, but he took multiple shots. Clean shots from Usyk that took him from one side of the ring to the other side of the ring, from one side of the ropes to the other side of the ropes. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll never find out the answer to that one, will we?
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, the right man won at the end of the day. Okay, so as someone who embodies elements of both fighters' style, from Tyson Fury and yourself, that Kronk influence, and the Eastern European influence of Usyk, how would you prepare for a rematch in Fury's corner, and what changes would you advise him to make, except for perhaps not having his father in the corner this time?
I mean, I don't think that's going to change. I don't think that will change. The father will continue to be in his corner. He's not going anywhere. That is not going to happen. He's too headstrong. It's not happening. I don't think.
Let's hope he keeps.
I would
Sugar
think
Hill
that.
on.
So I would think that Sugar Hill goes before the father goes.
Yeah,
That's how I look at it. And then the other thing is, now Usyk has the upper hand, both mentally, and he has the win. So I think that's the one thing. The only thing that I would say for Fury to do is keep him at a distance. You work that jab as much as you can and continue. Instead of throwing one shot, you catch him with a uppercut, you catch him with anything, you need to throw multiple shots. Like that's throw punches and bunches. Throw 2, 3, 4 shots at a time. One of them is bound to land.
And with that weight advantage,
yes,
you would expect
but
that to
so
add up.
then to add up. But I think, like I said, he would try to use his weight, and then he would go under him, and that's a lot of physicality for Usyk to do. I mean, around the guy that's 40 pounds heavier than him or 39 pounds heavier than him. So to go use that and then go around him on both sides, so he couldn't use that weight against him, because he did that perfectly against. And I think maybe that's the other reason that he fought on the ropes. He tried to draw him into the ropes, and then he would spin him around the ropes and just lay on him on the ropes. I think that could have been another tactic that just didn't work out for him. But if you in the corner, or him as a fighter, he should have known, if this is not working for me, then I need to get off the ropes. I need to stay in the center of the ring. I'm a bigger guy. I should be able to control the center of the ring. But that didn't happen.
So I want you to put both caps on now. So you're a Kronk fighter. What would worry you most about Usyk's style of fighting, or the Eastern European style of fighting?
His footwork. That's what it is. That's what I think it is. It's the footwork and the constant pressure. Like, the guy adjusts. He's able to adjust. And from my perspective, if you can break his guard, and that's what it is, you can break his guard, come up with an uppercut, you need to come with something right after that. And he just didn't do it. And I think that's what worries me. Like, if you're going up against a guy like Usyk, who right now, I don't think there's anybody out there that's going to beat him. Maybe Fury if they fight again. But I think right now there's no one in the heavyweight division that's gonna beat Usyk. He's just too intelligent of a guy, too savvy, and too well skilled inside the ring to do it. I mean, the guy is like laser focused. So there are just some guys that they're in this time where they're not going to get beat, and it's not because they're 6'5", 6'6", and they got massive reach and they have massive power. It's all skill set and determination.
So putting your other cap on, the Southpaw Eastern European style, what would worry you most about the Kronk style of fighting?
The dirty tactics.
Tell me more.
So like the weight, like using his weight against him or whatever, or smothering him, like that's.
Is that specific to Kronk or just specific to Tyson Fury?
It's a specific pro tactic. I don't think it's a Kronk tactic, because even though like Emmanuel Stewart worked with Tyson Fury, Sugar Hill has worked with Tyson Fury, there's no other fighter that has a style at Kronk that was like Tyson Fury. I mean, there's not. He's not a Tommy Hearns. He's not a Hilmer Kenty. He's not a Milton McCrory. I mean, the list can go on. He's not. So he's not a Gerald McCullum. So, and that's the thing is, and I said this to people before, they're like, oh, it's the Kronk style. No, there is no one Kronk style. There's similarities, but I don't think there's one Kronk style. Like, because if you look at the fighters I just mentioned, they're all different. They all have different stances slightly. Their hands are different. And I get it. Like, some of them will keep their hands down, but it's slightly different. So I think my perspective on how do you overcome the style that Fury has is you have to be evasive. You have to not play into his games. And he's very good at drawing people in and frustrating them. And I think he wasn't able to do that. He was not able to do that with Usyk, and that's why it didn't play out in his favor. Like, I thought for sure after the 6th round, this fight was going to play out that way. It was going to go 12 rounds, but it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of picked Fury before the fight to win on points. And during that 6th round, I was thinking, well, this is going to be a lot easier than I was thinking, but it totally churned. And Usyk's clutch gene came into play and totally changed the trajectory of the fight. So he's an amazing fighter.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot to say about the discipline that guys like fighters in general have, but I think the Eastern Bloc just has a different mentality. Like you look at Usyk, look at Bitterberev, look at Bivol, look at Loma. Like those 4 guys, like they're on a whole different level when it comes to laser focus and stuff like that. And the thing is that they're extremely humble. Like, don't get me wrong, Usyk likes to goof off and stuff like that. He'll say stuff, but he's a humble guy. Like all 4 of those guys are very humble guys.
Yeah.
They do
all role models, aren't they? All role models for boxing.
Yeah, there you go. Like, I mean, if you want your kid to grow up to be somebody, yeah. So I mean, like, better be if like that guy is on a whole different level. What was it? John Scully told me a story that when he was in Montreal, he didn't bring a winter coat. And so this guy took his coat off when it was like, I think it was negative. What did he tell me? He was like -5 degrees Fahrenheit in Montreal. And he winds up, hey, here, you can have the coat, whatever. This is one of his like national team coats from when he fought for the Russian team. And he's like, here, you can have the coat. So the next day, John comes to the gym. He's like, oh, I don't need it. He's like, no. You keep the coat. I don't want it back. He's like, you keep the coat. And like, that says a lot. Like that guy is super humble, and that's Bitterberev. And they all have that same, commonality. And I think it's because of like where you come from and your parents and stuff like that. It's the humble attitude.
Yeah. He's got some good stories, hasn't he, the Iceman?
Yes, he does.
Yeah. I've heard some. I've listened to some of his interviews. He's got some good stories. He has.